Let's take on our attention, please.
So raise your hand if you've ever been snowboarding or skiing before. Okay, and if you don't have your hand raised, raise your hand if you know somebody that's been skiing or snowboarding. There we go. It's really popular in Wisconsin. So even if you don't snowboard or ski, it's really good to pick up on waxing a snowboard, because if you pick it up in the future, you're going to want to do that yourself, or if your family or friends need help doing it, you'll be there to help them out. So waxing a snowboard is a big part of weekly maintenance for a snowboard. Without fresh wax, the board will stick to the snow and you'll travel a lot slower than you would with wax on your board. And before we move on to waxing a snowboard, I'm going to teach you a little about the anatomy of the snowboard so you know what I'll be talking about if I say something like the base or the edge. So first you have your nose, which would be in front of you while you're snowboarding, and you have your tail. It's pretty self-explanatory. These are your edges. You have a metal edge around your entire snowboard that helps you cut into the snow to make a turn. And then you have your little tail length and side cut radius, which you don't need to worry about this presentation. So we're going to go over some waxing materials. And I have a bunch of them here to show you, so if you want me to, I can pass them around.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to start out with our waxing iron, which is the most important thing you'll need to wax your snowboard. So what you need this for is to melt the wax, of course, but I'll pass this around quick. There you go. You need to open up the pores by applying heat to your snowboard at first, because your base layer of your snowboard is made out of wood. So in order to get that wax in there to stay, you need to open up those pores so you can. And then of course you need to spread your wax in. Next is our plastic scraper, which you use towards the end of the process. And I'll get into it when I start showing you the steps, but you actually scrape off all the wax that you put on the board. So I'll pass that. And you're going to want to sharpen this after every time you use it, because it's made out of plastic and that dulls very easily, especially when you touch those metal edges. Another very important part is your all-temperature wax. I use all-temperature wax because in Wisconsin it's not always super cold or super warm. And somewhere like New Zealand, it's a very good example of where it's kind of warm there when you're snowboarding, so you're going to want to get a heat type wax, where when you're riding on the snow, if you have a cold type wax in warm weather, it'll really come off your board. And so I use all temperature wax to get into those pores and it'll stay there because it's a lot more durable. Pass the thing out. Next, you want to use a multi-tool. When you first start waxing your snowboard, take off your bindings. The bindings are those big pieces that you put your feet in, if you've ever seen a snowboard. And basically you just use this as a screwdriver. It's really good to bring it with you too while you're on the hill. Your bindings come loose a lot. So what you want to do is tighten those screws. It has multiple pieces in it. It also has other pieces that can go with your snowboard if you need a replacement if something breaks. And then lastly, I don't have it with me because I have to get a new one, but you need a horsehair brush or any kind of medium strength brush. So when at the end of waxing a snowboard, you're going to put grooves in the base. So you run your brush across the bottom, and that puts grooves in there, and it kind of acts like a car tire. It wicks away the water as you're riding instead of hydroplaning over everything. And then also I added base cleaner, which I don't have isopropyl alcohol in here, I have water, just because I didn't know if I was allowed to bring isopropyl alcohol into the school. So that's an example. Otherwise you could just use generic base cleaner, but you want to do that in the beginning to get rid of all the dirt and just extra messiness on your board, because your board gets really dirty when you ride it. And that gets all that off, and also you don't want to put too much on because that can really cause damage to your base, because the snowboard's made out of many different materials, and adding a lot of isopropyl alcohol to that can make an effect. I don't need to pass this. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to get on to our steps. So if I could gather those materials quick, I'll show you how to do Okay, so when you first start out, you're going to have your board upside down. I use 2 sawhorses. We're going to use this desk as my snowboard, and of course it's not going to be this short. But you're going to get something like a sawhorse or some kind of clamp to hold it down, so you're going to be applying pressure, and you're going to be kind of just putting elbow grease into that thing, so you want to make sure it doesn't fall over, and it's got sharp edges so it can cut you. So when you start out, you're going to want your spray bottle, and while it's upside down, just with isopropyl alcohol, just kind of spray the bottom lightly, and then you just grab a rag and wipe it down to make sure all the dirt and grime went away. And while you're doing that, you can plug in your iron to preheat it to 280 degrees Fahrenheit to melt your wax but not burn it. Because something I'll add to that is when you're applying your wax onto your snowboard, it starts to smoke, that means you're burning it, and it's way too hot, and that could just cause severe damage to your board, so it can melt into there. And then it'll harden. So get that out of the way for now. So once your base is clean, you're going to want to start applying your wax. So you have your iron, and you go from you start at the bottom corner. I start at the nose corner, but you can start wherever you want. And you take your wax, I usually cut off a piece about this big, just gets easier to hold in your hand. And you're going to start at the corner and apply it like that, and you'll start watching them drip down. So you go around your board like this, and then you want to kind of create a zigzag through it, just kind of even it out. And even if it's not even, if you have more wax on this side than the other, that's completely okay. Because after this step, you're going to be spreading around your wax with your iron, nice and slowly, and you want to make sure there's an even coat. So if you wait about 30 seconds after you're heating up your wax and spreading it around, after you wait about 30 seconds after spreading your wax around with your iron, you can see spots where there either isn't wax or too much. So you apply no pressure, you just hold the iron on there, and you just spread it around. Get all the edges, especially your edges, because those make the most contact with the snow. Makes the most forceful contact. And then after this step is waiting. You want to wait 30 minutes to an hour for your wax to dry and get into those pores. So you're going to want to either kind of gather your materials, clean up a little bit. Might be a little bit of like, I don't know, isopropyl alcohol on the floor, something you could kind of waste time doing while it's drying. Then after that is my favorite step, which just involves your plastic scraper. And so you have your snowboard all laid out, and you'll see this big fresh layer of wax on it. It looks like a big candle, basically, and you've got your logo underneath it. Looks kind of wild. So you want to start at your nose or the tail, and instead of grabbing the wax and pushing it away like this, that is really bad for your board because you can dig into the base and you can create a notch in there that can make you catch ice or just really bring down your riding experience. And you're going to want to take your scraper and make a little bend with your thumbs in the middle, because a snowboard isn't flat on the bottom. Even if you have zero camber, which means your board is like this, it always has a dip in the middle, kind of like a U shape, so you make more contact with the snow as you're going. So you want to push your thumbs like this, and you want to pull it towards you while you're scraping, and you'll see layers of wax coming off, kind of like flakes. That looks really neat. This thing's covered in wax, and you can't see this, but when I bring my nail down, it kind of just curls up, and it's pretty self-explanatory. That's what it looks like. So as you're scraping and getting all those edges, feel free to use your little pointed edge here, the side, whatever you want.
Sorry, we're out of time, so thank you everyone for